Well, hello and welcome to episode 92 of the Payers and Players podcast. Every time I say this episode number, Scott, I just can't believe we're at 92. We'll be at 100 and something soon. And I just can't. Well, the first time we started, if you want to go back and listen to some of those early episodes, they were very amateur. And this is too, but they weren't as amateur as this is. Welcome to episode 92. My name's Robert. I'm here with Scott. We've got a special guest. Before we get started, if you enjoy the podcast, you listen to the podcast, we do the majority of what we do on Twitter. I know a lot of folks out there say they don't have a Twitter account, but if you would follow us on Twitter, and then if you're so inclined, we also have a subscribership where Scott does a lot of extras on Twitter, and so I try as well, but he's a lot better at it than I am. So with that, Scott, will you introduce our guest today?
Yeah, absolutely. Our today's guest is Maria Cercone. She is the Director of Junior Tennis and Player Development for the Southern Section. She's coming to us from Atlanta. And just looking at our past two guests, they're also from the state of Georgia. You might want to check those episodes out. Episode 90 with Jayru Nyanthi and 91 with Coach Manny Diaz. So 92, Maria Cercone from Atlanta. Welcome to the podcast, Maria.
Thanks, Scott and Robert. I'm happy to be here.
So can you tell us a little bit about your role at USTA and USTA Southern, and then we can get into the podcast?
Sure. So each section in the USTA, there's 17 sections, and each Southern is one of the 17. We're the largest by 3 times, so we're huge all the time. They have a player development manager. They're called PD managers. It depends on the section what their function is. Most of it's definitely player development, but sometimes they take on adults too, and not just juniors. So it's a little bit of everything for each section, a little bit different. But there are 17 PD managers, and I'm one of the 17. And in Southern, I am in charge of all player development and all of the juniors. That means competition, junior competition means even the green ball, orange ball, the junior circuits, all that comes under our umbrella. And collegiate now, we also have collegiate. So, and we're doing a lot with collegiate. So it's all coming under, and pro circuits. So it's all coming under our umbrella.
Well, Scott, that means we've had 2/17 of the USTA player development with Tiffany and now with Maria. So 15 to go.
Tiffany, I know Tiffany well.
Yeah, great. So maybe we could start off by talking a little about some changes that are going to take place in 2024. There was a letter that came out at the end of 2023 that was highlighting some of the directional changes in terms of simplifying the entry process for some level ones and some other areas of change. Could you address those?
Sure. Really, the big change for 2024 it's basically for the national level ones, which we use the quota list for that. And so there are only 4 tournaments that quota list is used for. And that is a way of entry into a tournament. So what's changed is how they are comprising the quota list. In the past, for the last probably 20, 25 years, they've used a percentage of membership, and also how many top 150 players you have in your section determines the number of quota you get. So they froze the membership 13 years ago. So they decided that that's not really was a good tool to use. So now they're using registrations. How many registrations in the junior comp side? And that's levels 7 up to 4. So all those tournaments are played in the section and players are playing in them, they're counted as a unique registration, and that's what they're counting for. 40% of the quota comes from that number, and then 60% comes from how many top 150 players you have in your section, and that gives you the quota number. The difference that they changed, so that was one thing they changed, and then the other thing they changed was the criteria for the quota. When they went to the new structure 4 years ago, you had to play, they got rid of endorsement, which means that you had to play certain tournaments. Now you don't have to play certain tournaments, you just got to qualify with the points. But for your quota list, for your quota ranking list, I hate to use ranking standings, your best 6 tournaments only two of them can now count from outside the section. Instead, last year it was three. So they went from 3 to 2. So if you're playing 10 tournaments and you played 8 of them outside the section, outside your USTA Southern section, let's say, and you only played 2 in section, well, you have to take those 2 in section will count for the quota list, but then only 2 will count from the outside of the section. So if you had 8, only your best 2 of those 8 will count towards your quota.
So then in effect, you'd only have 4 tournaments that count.
So right. So it's basically trying to encourage the players to play in their sections a little bit more, is basically what it is.
Maria, why do you think they care? Because I think about a guy like Scott, he can get to Indiana quicker than he can get to Tennessee.
Right.
Why? And if you're in Arkansas, you can get to Oklahoma way faster than you can get to Mobile. Why do they care?
Southern loved the way it was. I mean, I think it was good for us because we have so many, open borders, let's say, right? We're attached to a lot of sections. Some of the sections, they thought that their players weren't playing in their tournaments. So basically, it was just trying to keep them in the sections a little bit more. I have no idea the reason behind it, other than maybe they were feeling that a lot of their players maybe are not playing their sectional events. I don't know. Yeah, but that's I think that's one. I would say that's a reason to keep a little bit more players in your section, playing more in your section.
And it's really only relevant to this quota list. It doesn't really affect anything else.
Right. And then your national standing list, your national ranking standing list is your best 6 no matter where you played them. So you can play 20 outside the section and your best 6 come from that 20. Doesn't have to come from inception.
And so I'm sorry, I'm just now seeing this today. I think it came out, say, a week or 2 ago, the new quota list, but it looks like they've pretty much cut the quota in half.
So that's the other change. So the other change, which I'm kind of behind it, I think it's a good change. It's hard because I have to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
But Southern always had a lot of quota because we have a lot of players. We're big. But we still do have a lot of, our quota hasn't changed. I mean, it's changed, but we're still the largest. So what happened was they felt that a lot of players, were getting in on quota. It could not just our section, it's any section, that maybe not deserve to be in the tournament. It makes the tournament a little weaker. So they cut the quota, not in half. It was 120, I think. So, 100. So I think they cut it by 30 quota spots, 27 spots maybe. And they're instead of taking the quota, they're taking more of the national standing list players. So, playing a USTA national tournament with the point system is going to be of more value to them, because now it's not just the quota, it's also going to be the ranking. It's going to be involved in getting in the tournament. Yeah. So more kids will get in on their national ranking than on the quota.
And one of the things that, like I say, we have in the Southern section, because it is such a large section, and it's one of the higher quality sections, in my opinion, when you look at some of the other sections in terms of depth. I think it's unquestionable. But you have some sections that are very light in terms of, their membership. Just a couple of states, say Northern, Mid-Atlantic, Middle states are very, 1 or 2 states only. Those states have just as many closed L3s as the Southern section. Is there some sort of fairness involved that we want to address in terms of? Yeah, go ahead.
We're slowly addressing that. It's the committee. It's a national committee. USTA national committee makes these decisions on the formats and all that. We did reduce the level 4s. They used to be everyone got 8. Now they don't. We get actually more. We get 9 or 10. They're getting less. Some sections are getting less because of that reason. And then they're starting to monitor now. They're starting to really look into see what's filling and not filling in draw sizes. So the data is going to take a few years to come back, but they're slowly getting to it. And then once, oh wow, that's right. Maybe we should not do this and do not. But they're doing it with data proven behind them. So the level 3s, I think there's only everyone gets 2 level 3s closed. So I don't know if it's if everyone's going to get at least 1. So So that's a tough one. Now, where the level threes are being held, because there's a lot of level threes, national level threes. The ones that we're talking about, level threes, are the two closed.
Right.
Those are the ones the sections control, right? Everyone has two, and only that section can play in that level three. But the level three national schedule is huge. There's lots of tournaments. And Southern, we're lucky, we have a lot of level threes in our own section. Even though it's in our section, it still doesn't count as one of their sectional tournaments for the quota list.
Oh, it does not. Oh, I did not
Yeah,
know that.
the only ones that, so the only ones that count are the level three closed, the two that I
Okay.
just spoke about, and then the national level two Florida Southern Challenge, or it's called the intersectional event. Everyone has a different, ours is like in
Right.
Florida, but that one counts. Even if it's played in Florida, it still counts. And then anything played in your section from levels 4 down to 7, it
Yeah,
counts.
and Maria, do you want to share your screen just so you can show the people that are maybe watching this on YouTube what the quotas look like now?
Okay, let me see if I can do it. I'm going to try to do it. Here we go. Share, share, and share. Oh, let me push it. Let me know if it comes up.
Yep, there it is.
Okay. So
Okay.
if you're looking at this on YouTube, you can sort of see the new list, and it's the same format as it's been in the past, but you can see the numbers are, reduced somewhat substantially depending on your section. And so this is how it's going to look. Like I say, I think in the past, Southern section had between 20 and 22 spots. Now there's 11 for
It depended on, it depended on the division and the year
Yeah.
because of the top 150
Yeah.
going in.
Yeah.
And that's very important because that's 60% of the calculation is the top 150.
Right. And like I say, and that's also influenced by that top 150 is the national standings list, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So
correct.
so it is influenced by, players that may play in sections that aren't as strong as Southern section or Florida or Southern California that have more of the opportunities. And
Yeah.
it's also, how much people can travel outside their section. Like say for some states, it's very easy to travel outside your section. Other states, there's really, it takes a lot of effort to get outside your section. So those are some factors that go into what, the national standings list looks like.
Right. Now
And you're
the unique participate registrants, that's doesn't matter if they're in, like when we count Southern players, it's just not Southern players, it's anyone that played in our section. So we are counting outside players as well
And,
in that number.
yeah, and because this podcast is for all ages and juniors, and Robert and I are both, our sons are getting up there in the age groups. Talk about maybe 12 and under, what's going on there, something that we're not really that in tune with anymore, but want to make sure that those things are being addressed too. Do you have anything to update on those?
I think the 12 and unders are, I think it's more about the 10 and unders than the 12 and
Okay,
unders.
sure.
So, but it's a little touchy subject for us for Southern. Um, we have started it's because there's no tenant. Okay, so you have to go through the play tracker. You have to be orange and then green, and then from green to yellow, right? You have to be approved to play yellow. And so you can be yellow at any age under 10 as long as you have gone through the process, and then you have to play the 12 and under yellow. There is no 10 and under yellow. There's nothing 10 and under other than the green ball. And that is also, there's no ranking there or anything. It's just the play tracker. So Southern felt that there's a need for kids that want to play 12 and under yellow, but maybe in size they might want to play against their peers and 10 and under yellow with their peers, which kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
So we have a Grand Prix circuit. We have a green ball Grand Prix circuit for the advanced green ball players, and then we have a yellow Grand Prix. So any kids 10 and under that are 10 and under yellow ball approved, they've had to go through the play tracker, but just want to play each other, we have a tournament circuit for them. And if they want to play the 12s, they're allowed because they're yellow ball. But if they choose not to because they're playing maybe in the wrong level or they're too small, whatever the reason, you always have those kids that are great and are going to play up in 12s and do well, but you have some kids that might not physically be ready. So it's part of a player development for us. And so we started that a year ago, last year, and we're continuing it this year and starting to grow this year a little bit more. And then Southern Cal took our idea and they're doing it as well. They did the green ball and they're doing the yellow ball. They took our idea and they're doing it as well. And it's so they had the same philosophy that there has to be some, for us, Southern feels there has to be something in the middle
Yeah.
for those kids.
And so, but those don't have rankings. When you say Grand Prix, is that just they have
We
tournaments
have,
available?
yeah, we have tournaments available. We have a standings list, a points. It's a points race. It's a Grand
Okay.
Prix, and that's done through Match App, who's one of
Okay.
our partners. And they do, so you can go on there and they can see where they are in their points. And how we put the carrot in there, we have a camp for the green ball and the yellow ball players. So they get invited to, if they're, in the top, whatever, of the yellow ball, they get invited to a camp. The same thing
Okay.
with the green ball. So that's a big deal. And then this year, we're also having a sectional 10 and under yellow ball championship with a
Okay.
huge trophy, like,
Like Little Mo?
exactly. It's a
I was gonna
whole bunch.
say you got Little Mo proved that this is popular,
Yeah,
right? And they actually did it in Everett actually played it when he 8 or 9 years old. But the draw was you get to play people that are only your age.
exactly.
So the 2008s, only 2008s played 2008s, and so you got to see. He was 9 years old playing 12-year-olds. Now you get to see amongst his peers where is that? Where does he
Exactly.
sit?
Yeah,
And
Right.
I think that's
So
what
I think
people, yeah.
that's
And I
very
think that's
attractive.
that's what we're doing. I mean, hopefully it's going to work. I mean, we have a lot of kids. But we're also a very big section,
right,
so
right.
there's a lot of states that outlying areas that don't have a lot of, volume of players because it's, so big. So we have to find the right mix and stuff. But we're excited about that. So that's the committee came up with that. So that's so that I think will lead into the 12 and under, that because that was your question, right? The 12 and under. So
Yeah.
that will lead into your 12 and under. Our 12 and under is pretty strong, and I think it's because we had this in the past. They're now moving into the 14 and unders. So we'll see. We keep track of all the kids that play nationals and do well at nationals. If they were ever involved in camps, our US, our player development camps, and most of the kids that do well or ranked high have all gone through the camp process. So
Yeah.
I think we're doing something right, maybe a little bit, but the 10 and unders is really for us. That's for me personally. I think it's one of the most important things. So
Yeah, and I think part of the reason, and I think you were always a little more forward thinking than others in your role. It was because you had children who actually played tennis at a high level. Can you just spend 1 or 2 minutes so the viewers know where they played and at what level?
yeah,
And,
well,
and
I was a coach for 35 years in Florida. I was there for a long time. Had my own academy, so I had a lot of players go through. And I coached. I was also the chair of junior comp for Florida. I was very involved in all the Florida decisions that are now there. But anyway, so I have two daughters that played. One played at University of Florida. The other one played at Florida State. The one at Florida State liked tennis. She didn't love it, but she was good enough to play at Florida State. And then my youngest daughter, she loved tennis and she was number one in the country. She was top 40 or something in the ITFs. She played all the junior grand slams and played at Florida. And then decided to play a little bit of pro afterwards, got hurt, and now she just went to work for the USTA. She's been there 7 years. So she works at the national campus in Orlando. So, and her job is a little bit like mine, only she has the whole country. She's in the junior comp side. So she
Well,
runs all.
I say all the time, your decision making is not just because of an opinion. It's also you come at it from an employee or a professional perspective, but also a parent perspective.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I've done everything that you all are doing. I've gone through that, and and changes happen a lot, and you just gotta keep up with the changes, and especially with the digital world. When I played junior tennis in Florida. I mean, everything was on paper. Everything's on
yeah,
paper. Rankings were done manually. So everything's changing. So.
imagine life before the Match Tennis app. I mean,
Or
it was,
UTR.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
no, UTR was, we had, that was the way that USTA was ranking. It wasn't a UTR, but it was a data,
mhm,
rating system.
yeah,
So it's, yeah, just a different name for it.
yeah,
Well, speaking of changes, Scott, you want to hit the next one?
yeah. Sure.
Maria, do you mind stopping sharing if it doesn't apply?
Yeah.
There you go.
So Robert just mentioned UTR. So what's one of the things we want to talk about is, we have WTN, the USTA has partnered with, through the ITF, partnered with to come up with this rating WTN that's starting to be used in different sections and maybe nationally. I don't think we use it much at all in Southern section, but other sections do. Is there a reason why Southern section doesn't maybe rely on it for seeding or partial acceptance?
Yeah, because the USTA, our national system is the USTA national standing and uses a point system. I'm glad we didn't use it. I think we would have gotten hurt if we used the rating system for tournament selection and seedings a few years ago when everyone kind of was turning to it.
Yeah.
Because now if you look at how kids are going to be selected, it's going to be mostly on their USTA national standings. Also, it encouraged kids to play tennis and not sit out. I've never been a big fan of, the rating system, just because I think it's great. It's level play. That's all, practice, all that good is good. But when it comes to competition, you have to have a carrot for the kids to play and want to play. If I go back years ago when we were on the rating system on the USTA, it was called the STAR system. The reason the word designated tournaments became designated tournaments was because we were making kids have to play so many tournaments. But they were not playing them because they didn't want to lose. Because it's this rating system, if you lose, it really kind of hurts you. Right. So years ago, I decided in Florida that, hey, this is not good. We're making kids play 5 tournaments a year. That's ridiculous, right? And they had to play that to go to nationals or they didn't go. So you were making them play designated tournaments. So they should want to play and get better, And so that's when we started the point system in Florida. And then 2 years later, it became a national point system. And I was very much involved in the point system for the beginning of it. So I just think it helps the kids. The kids can see it. They can, okay, I won this. I get this many points. We're in the rating. It's hard to tell where you are. Really, I beat this guy, but he beat me. So very simple for kids to see it. And also, the ATP and the WTA on point system. So it's just easy for the players. And there weren't a lot of defaults at the time. People weren't retiring from matches. We saw a lot of that this past 2 years, a lot of retirements.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think, the UTR, there is a disincentive to play because if you do lose, your rating goes down. And if in a tournament, if you lose, your points don't change. They don't go up, but they don't go down.
Exactly. So it doesn't hurt you to lose. It doesn't hurt you if you want to work on your backhand slice. You can play a tournament, work on your backhand slice. You lose, but you're not going to lose anything. It's just not going to gain anything. But at least you got your practice in your backhand slice. So, and then also with the new quota being changed, the quota changed. That's going to be. So there was another change with the quota for the national level ones. That once the tournament got posted, the draw got posted, then they stopped taking alternates from the quota list. That's changed. So once the tournament is closed, the deadline closes, selection's done. If you're the first alternate, doesn't matter where you're from, you're the first alternate. So let's say a Southern boy withdraws from the quota, he's on quota. In the past, another Southern kid would have got into that quota. No matter if he was 500.
Okay.
If he's 500, the first alternate is 200, but he's not going to get in because the kid from Southern is 500. He's going to get it because he's the next guy on the quota. So that's changed. So after the deadline closes, who's ever on the alternate list is who's going to get in. So it's going to mean more to have your ranking up there, to have your points, your ranking. So, and for Southern, I think it was a good move because we have a lot of kids that are ranked in that mid range that might not get in because another section quota player got in ahead of them.
Yeah, and it's
So
one of those.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say, it's one of those things where it's double-edged sword. A Southern kid could pull out, and then he's replaced by an Eastern kid. So the 11 spots that we have may turn out to be only 8.
Right.
But at the same time, if we're high in the standings list, that 11 players may turn into 15. So It just like
And yeah,
we'll see. Yeah.
and at the end of the day, the tournament is a better draw. It is, I mean, and that's when, as a developmental play, coach, or as a,
Well,
do you want
yeah.
to draw that a tournament that the guy that's ranked 15, we've had that where a kid got in 1,001 gets in, okay, and might lose 0 and 0 and 0, get it out, or do we want a little bit more, first round matches, being a little bit more competitive? So we'll see how it works. Do I think of course I want Southern kids all to get in. That's
Mhm.
that's what my job is, but my job is also to make sure they're getting developing correctly, getting into the top 150 and playing the right levels of tournaments, which is very important.
Yeah, so let me ask this because I know every parent listening, if I don't ask this, they're sitting in their car wondering it. And I hear you on the UTR piece, and I think I'm probably 60% agree with you, 40% don't agree with you, but my opinion doesn't matter. My wonder is if you go ask any college coach, the the first thing they ask is what's your UTR. The first thing they do is look up. We've had multiple on. We ask them what's the first thing. So my question to you is where is a spot that UTR could benefit the way the tournaments are played? Is it by seeding? Is it by team tournaments and waterfalling based on UTR? Because we know it's accurate.
Well, what?
So where is a place that you
It's
could
not yet.
concede
No, no.
letting it slide in?
It's only accurate because they have our results, USTA results.
Sure,
It wouldn't be
sure.
accurate if they weren't scraping our result. But WTN, so now I wouldn't even, now I would never use UTR. If I use a rating, it would be WTN. And we are using it in some stuff like our camps and stuff. So we're seeing how it is. Again, you have to make sure that the tournament, the matches there, their matches, because if you don't play a lot of matches, it gets all, especially at the younger divisions, it's not very.
Sure, sure.
Right.
So it's getting there. So we're seeing, it's good if we do, it's going to be WTN because that's what we're using, and it's also for the pro circuits. That's what we use is
Got
WTN.
it. Got it.
So, but we do see that there's not much difference in the rating and the ranking of the top players. Now, when you get to the muddied waters where you're not sure what the match counts are with players, that's when you start seeing a little difference. But there's no perfect ranking system, I believe. There's nothing
No.
perfect. I just feel that since we are USTA and that's how our players get selected is by USTA ranking, that we should support that because that's what our players at the end of the day will have to need. Now, if they say tomorrow we're selected by UTR, well, then that might change the whole thing, right? Or WTN, and we might change how we do things. So.
Well, I
For
just had
now,
to ask the question. Yeah. No,
no,
just
I
had to
think
ask the question.
I get that question every day, and I was one of the least probably sections that did not use so much the rating system. We're using WTN for a lot of things, more things than I ever would have used for UTR. So, but WTN we're using for cams, we're using for we even thought about waterfalling, maybe a team event. Again, it's up to the committee. It's not up to me. And the committee, believe it or not, is on the fence on it still. So,
Got it.
Talk about a couple of changes I've noticed in the 2024 schedule for the southern section is a lot more use of flighted draws in L4s, which is actually pretty smart. My first reaction to it was, well, if I play in L4, I want to make sure I'm playing the best competition, but I'm going to get any points if I'm not going to get to the semifinals. And so,
double-edged sword. Yeah,
go ahead.
double-edged sword. Yep.
Yeah, and so you could have a great tournament, 3 or 4 matches, do well, but you're not getting any points unless you get to so far. Now with the flighted draws, almost every draw, well, one of the 4 draws, even if you're in the bottom draw, it's still worth it points wise for you to play that tournament. And then the higher, second, third tiers are even more. So you have a lot more players with point possibilities in there, and the more points you get, the more you can move up. And so to get into those higher things. So I thought that was a good change. Can you talk about the decision there?
Yeah, so we started with the level 5s, threw them in a
Yeah.
year ago just to see how and the reaction is great. Oh, wow, this is awesome. It's a 2-day event. We can go home. And so it was very popular. Southern likes to have big draws. Their philosophy is to have these big draws all the time, especially level fours. I'm thinking, well, it's not really helping that kid that's 64.
Right.
So we thought, let's go with the flighted draws just to see, number one, if you don't have a full draw, you have a 64 or 64 draw, you don't have it not full, it's only 50 kids, right? You can still do the flighted without affecting too many buys and stuff like that. That's what happens when you have a regular tournament and you have a lot of buys in the draw. It becomes so
Yeah.
uneven and scheduling and all that. So that helped that some states that we hold summer level fours do not fill sometimes just because of the wherever they are maybe, or it's because it's against something else. But so when you do the draw, it could be a nightmare for scheduling. So the committee decided, let's try it this year. We gave them the option. We gave them, if you have a full 64 draw the year before, you can still do your regular draw if you want. But really, 99% of them went with the flighted this year, and we did it in January. And that's the first time I ever got so many positives responses
Mhm.
from top coaches, players, parents. They loved it. So that's the way we're going to probably go the rest of the year.
Yeah, like I say, those 64s were so monstrous. The back draws were taking forever. There were days when you'd have a day off because you had to wait for the.
That's the level 3 with the 128 draw. You can't.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
It's just,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, you can't do that,
Yeah.
but because of the format. Again, and when I came to Southern, and like my predecessor, Bill Zaki, who's great. When I was in Florida, we used to argue all the time, because I believe I was a little bit on smaller draws, and more, level draws. So this is a good way to do it and still have big draws. So, and everybody be at the same place. So, I think it's a
Yeah,
win-win.
I'm definitely a fan of it too. I think it's worked out for so many logistical reasons, but also it allows the tournament to have a bigger tournament. And like you said, if a player is coming from 14s to 16s, they don't have quite the ranking. They can get into the bottom flighted draw. If they're really good, they win. Well, then the next tournament they can get in a higher flight. So I think it's a win in every direction.
I
Yep.
agree.
Yep. Yeah,
Agree.
for
I
sure.
wish I had the threes actually. We don't have it for the threes.
Yeah.
So.
So
Well,
before one quick question thing before when the level fives we went to the flighted draws before in Southern section we would have two draws waterfalled. Is there a reason why you can't waterfall anymore?
Yeah, because I came when I first came here, I couldn't believe that was happening, that
Yeah.
two players are getting the same amount of points
Right.
and they're not not even
They're
playing
not. They're
against
not
each
even
other.
winning it. Yeah.
Right. So it was hard for me to fathom that. So when we came up with the flighted part of it, go by. I mean, you could have done it the same way without waterfall and still been good, but I was not a big fan of it. I didn't think it was right that they should get the same amount of points, for playing, and the top players aren't even playing each other. So that's why. And the committee felt the same way, I think, when they saw the flighted, they liked that, that made
But that
sense.
it just makes the flighted that much more stacked. So it makes it a much more difficult tournament. But
Right. I mean, and
I
then
see your point.
so you have the other side too,
Yeah.
the guy that's 16 that gets into the A,
Right.
right? And
Right.
he's
Right.
like, oh my God, every match is hard. Well, you know, then you go back and play a five and win the five, or something
Yeah.
like that, But it's you can't make everybody happy,
No. No. It's
it's
always about
but for development,
maximizing. Yeah.
yeah, and for development, it's the best thing, I
Yeah.
think.
It's interesting.
well, let me ask two questions that are combined. So tell me about zonals and why it's still gone, correct?
Well, yeah, but we're bringing it back, so I'll let you know in a minute.
Beautiful. And so the question I was going to ask is if you ask most players, and Scott, you tell me if you agree, but if you ask most players, what's your favorite tournament? They're either going to say zonals or Southern Cup in the Southern section, right? Um, and when it went away and was replaced with something that had so few players represented, a lot of parents didn't understand that because it was so popular. And then you combine with we had Dr. Jayanthi on in the last podcast, and he talked about how players are playing way too many matches in way too little amount of time in tournaments. And one of the things I loved about zonals was one singles, one doubles per day were on a team. And what you saw was the play was super high level. You never saw withdrawals. You always saw great competition. So I wonder, why was that? Why was that decision made?
It was a national decision, and I think it's I just think Southern was not for getting rid of zonals, that's for sure. But I think financially, some sections thought it might be, had its time. So that's the decision was made. I think it was a very close decision, but it was to not hold it.
So tell us about it coming back, and then I got to follow up.
So coming back, I think it's the best thing ever. The zonals was the best thing ever. And I coached it for 22 years in Florida. I did
We
the
would
first
agree with
pilot.
you. I would agree with you.
I did that pilot. And it was funny because I had a little story. So Bill Zaki and I, when we were at the Atlanta Open a few years ago, and he was getting inducted, I think, into the Hall of Fame, we had Robbie Ginepri and Andy Roddick play an exhibition match. And then Bill was selected to interview them. And he goes, so when was the last time you guys played each other on the tour? And they looked at each other and they said, we never played each other on the tour. And then they looked at each other. I think the last time we played each other was when at Zonals. And then Robbie goes, Bill, you were my coach. And then Andy pointed to me and Andy goes, Maria, you were my coach.
Oh, wow.
So I had Marty Fish. It was like an unbelievable group. I mean, it's just, everyone played it, and Southern too. I mean, and I just think also, times have changed. People, the team thing concept started kind of going out the last couple of years. I think before it, for some reason, sections weren't really, I don't know. It's sad to see it go. I did not want to see it go. So we brought it back last year, not intersectionally, we couldn't. So we did it within ourselves. We did the 12s and 14s zonals within our own little section. But 2024, us, Southern Cal, Texas, and Eastern are doing the zonals.
Maria, the website says NorCal. Is it Southern Cal or NorCal?
Southern Cal.
Okay.
Southern Cal. So we're holding the 16s at the same time the zonals used to be held. California is holding the 18s, Texas is holding the 14s, and Eastern is going to hold the 12s. The pilot, we're trying it out, but at least it's a level 4 points. It's not 2 or 1, but it's 4. And hopefully that the kids want to play on a team and travel and have a great time. And with coaching.
Talk about the numbers and how will the teams be determined?
Everything's by ranking. I think everyone's going by the ranking. We're probably going to do the TN team. So we're discussing that. That hasn't been decided yet, how we waterfall the teams. It's not going to be that many players. It's 24 players per division just because we're just starting it out. So it's going to be, not, but you also have to travel. If you're in the 18s, you might have to go to California. So,
right. So only 6 players per section then?
Oh, no. That's right. 12 per division. So it'd be 24 per division. So it's 12 players per division. 12 girls, 12 boys.
Okay.
And the 24, 20.
So
per section? He's asking per section. So how many Southern 12-year-olds will get to play?
24.
Okay.
24.
Okay.
12 boys, 12 girls from the Southern section, and 12.
So
then
SoCal, Texas, and Eastern will have 12 each. So perfect. Okay.
Yeah,
so 48
it's already. I think it's already on the website. I think we're putting it out. I'm not 100% because we were working on it. It was approved at the very end of December for national.
The website says each section will have 6 players.
There you go. When I say so, each section, that means each division. So there's 2. So we have the 12. So we'll have 12 girls. We'll have 12 girls and 12 boys. A total of 96 players. I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me. So the whole thing is 96 players divided by 4. What's that? What's 96 divided by 4?
24.
24 players each section. There you go.
Okay. All right. Yeah. The website just needs to be fixed or whatever. Okay.
That's fantastic, Maria. And then they just sign up and you just determine it based on ranking, right? Just like
we used to before. Same thing. And they'll be coaching. We have coaching. Teams will have a coach. We did that this summer. It was a great event. It was in Chattanooga. That's where this one will be too. It was in Chattanooga, and the players had a great time. We had 8 coaches coaching the teams. The team events is the way to go. I love team events. I think That's
We need way more of them. We need way more of them.
I know, but
And
it's very hard to run. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to run team events. That's the
yeah.
problem for TDs. I mean, we're trying to make it easier for them, but it's not easy.
And does the Southern sections have those level 4 team events still?
We
The
like,
one
yeah,
in, there
yeah,
was
we
one in
have,
Little
yeah.
Rock?
Oh, yeah, we did the Little Rock. Then the opposite of that one was the 12s and 14s, the zonals I was just telling you about.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Well, that's going to happen also. That's the 12s and 14s, and the 16s and 18s will be the same weekend in different places.
Okay.
And then we're adding the other level 4 intersectional team event.
Okay.
So we get an extra one this year.
Yeah, the dominant duos are awesome. We did the
Yep.
team event in Tucson. I think it was a L4 maybe.
Now
It was
they've been doing
awesome.
And
I think the coaching's key, though. I'm proud that you're doing coaching. Everett had Chad Camper from UT Chattanooga, the women's coach, and awesome. And the year
Yeah.
before that, he had who from the Match Tennis app, who's freaking awesome. So it's just the parents love it, the kids love it. I don't see anybody walk away upset about it. Like everybody loves it.
It's just hard. I mean, it's harder on the admin side, the TD side to do it.
Right.
Like
Right.
when we run, like the Zaki Cup we run, right? 'Cause I don't think anyone would run that. That would be great. It's hard. It's not easy. So, but yeah. So the easier we make these team events for the TDs to run, I think you'll see more of them.
Yeah. So the follow up is and both are true. So I got a question for you. The tournament directors say, how do I have a tournament with 64 players in a really fast amount of pace where players aren't playing, two singles, two doubles on one day and two singles, two doubles on another? But then you got on the medical side, they're saying that's not healthy for the kids, and you don't see any pros do that. And then you got Medvedev at the Australian say after 2 sets, I was gassed with a day off, right? So I lost the next 3 sets because I just had nothing left in the tank. So, Maria, give us a format that solves both those problems for juniors.
Draw sizes is the format.
So, and the waterfall has kind of done that, right? A little
flighted
the
draws.
flighted. That's what I meant.
Draw sizes.
Flighted.
And we made, we have our own rule. We have our own heat rule in Southern. So, we do, even though the guidelines tell you can play so many USTA, you can play so many, we are two match, two singles, that's it. And then one or two doubles. That is all we play. We never play more than that with a regular scoring of 2 out of 3 with a match tiebreaker. We're the only section that probably has that rule in effect, I think. So we're very.
So is there a format that could get it where a kid could play? I mean, I watched a kid 2 weeks ago play a 3-hour singles match, and then the tournament director said you have 1 hour for your next singles match.
That's that didn't happen in Southern because we have a rule for that.
Yeah, I know it didn't happen in Southern. But what do you do about that? I mean, I hear tournament directors constantly complain about the backdraw flu. Well, part of that is because they're playing so many matches, they're legitimately getting injured, and then the deeper they go in the draw, the more competitive those matches become.
That's right.
So they're 2.5 and 3 hours, and you have younger players who don't have the weapons they need to shorten the points. So,
well, short score. I mean, you can do the short scoring, but a lot of people are not fan of the short scoring, and so until you see it on TV at the that's maybe when people start, anytime we have to go to short scoring, we hear about it.
I do think no ad's a component of that. I do think no ad's a component because you see some of these 10-minute deuce ad games.
No ad. No one has a problem with no ad. I think it's the shorts. That's to me.
Well, yeah, four game sets. I get it.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, and like college tennis, but again, they're only playing one match a day.
Right.
They'll play a match on Friday and a match on Sunday and nothing the rest of the week, right?
I know, and that's one thing the first thing that I saw when I came to Southern, I couldn't believe how many matches are being played in a day here. So it's gone a long. It's gone a long way. We're the only section that only allows 2 matches a day, I think, and then we also require 2-hour. And then you have the TDs crying, and I understand I was a TD. I knew I got to give them 2 hours. I need to get them, So
what is the rule there, Maria? Is it a 2-hour?
For Southern,
yes? For Southern section
Southern
only.
is in the summertime.
In summer.
May to October, 2 hours rest between singles for
Okay,
singles,
yeah.
for
Like I
sure.
say, we go to some of the Midwest tournaments
It's
indoors,
out.
and you're playing 3 matches between 12 and 8 p.m.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
but
And then
indoor tennis, you got to, court time is limited. I know it's
yeah,
tough,
they
but
have a harder time because of the indoor. Yeah, they have a much harder. We're lucky because we have a lot of big
which I'm
facilities.
surprised they don't do more flighted draws because that would cut down on a match,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love the fly draws. I think it's the best thing that's happened in a long time with for
Yeah.
us. And then with an hour and a half in the fall,
Okay.
when like right now, it would be an hour and a half time.
Okay. I
Yeah, and
wonder.
those are good. I do wish we could get to a point where it was even less than that. I know not time matches. And I
Yeah,
know for
draw
parents
size.
that are probably 10 and 12 under, they're like, what do you mean? I want my kid to play as much as possible. But when you get in 16s and 18s, the matches become very, very competitive
And
Uh,
they're
very
physical.
grueling on the body. Yeah. And I
Again,
think playing
draw
two
size.
singles,
Draw
I no, I
sizes.
agree. I think 4 tournaments in 2 days. I mean, 4 singles matches in 2 days is too many. I just do.
It can be tough. It can be tough. But
And I don't know the answer. And people on Twitter will say, "Well, what's the answer then?" And it's like,
Well,
I
the,
don't
the
know.
answer is,
well,
go ahead.
smaller draws, but then
Yeah.
people complain about small. Oh, my kid can't get in. That's
Right.
ridiculous. Why is it
Yep.
so
Yep. He
small?
needs his opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
you
don't we
need
don't we don't
opportunity.
point chase, so we want to play what's here, but
Or
we don't have the
whatever. I need
points,
to
so we
play
can't
that
do it.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for my rating, I need to play him. He's above me. There's, yeah, it's a lot. But I think Southern's come a long way and handling. I mean, I think we're doing pretty good. Uh,
Yeah, no doubt.
I think we are. I just still, I know that Texas does the compass draws, because I know Julio really well. We talk all the time, but that would not work here. It's just we have too many. It's just wouldn't work. So,
Well, that was the next
points.
question I was going to ask is could you not break them into little pods of 4 and let them play 3 singles matches in a compass based on like WTN,
Like that,
and then they're only going to get 3 singles.
Right, but
or
they
the
want more than three singles. They like everything is like even the per round stuff, the per match score formats are 4 matches. That's the most that you can get is 4 matches. So people want to utilize the 4 matches.
Got
So
it. Got it.
that they want to utilize. I mean, they're there for the parents, or the kids or whatever. They're there for the points or playing the guy that's ahead of them on their WTN or UTR. They want to beat that guy. The other
and
thing with UTR was the scoring. Now we had a lot of issues with kids buying the scores, playing each
hmm,
other's scores. So,
is
Do
that
what?
for real?
hmm hmm
So they would pay players to
yeah, like
misreport scores?
just say I'm 6060 or say 6464, right? So yeah,
Really?
that's happened. Yeah,
Wow, no
That's
way.
haven't
you got
seen it in a long time, so hopefully it's not happening. So.
that's yes. That's I've heard of that, but I've thought that would be kind of a weird thing to, unless you really knew who you were talking to.
Oh yeah,
Be kind
they do. They all know each other pretty well.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Well, hey, one of the things that Robert talks about, minimizing matches, would be playing ITFs, where there's only one match per day, and the tournament lasts all week, and it's
Good
during the
point.
week.
Good point.
So, but I did want to ask about sort of the ITF USTA partnership. I know that maybe not people don't know it, but you do get USTA points for ITF tournaments,
Some of them. Some.
and for some of them. So, could you talk a little bit
Really?
about
Yeah.
that and inform Robert, because that
Yeah.
why it's
That's
different.
right. I
Some
didn't
of
know
the
that.
Yeah. So, because we feel if you're at that level where you're starting to play ITFs, there's no reason not to reward them with the USTA points because they would be playing the tournaments anyway. If that way, we don't have to give them a wild card at the end of the day if they want to play a national tournament. Oh, I've been playing all these tournaments. So yeah, so you can earn some points at that. But it's very. I think it's good if you're going to win an ITF tournament, you'll get a lot of good USTA points. But if winning 1 round or 2 rounds, you might be better off playing a level 4 or a 3 or 2.
And what is that point scale that we use? So for, like, say, a
It's
J30, what would that be?
Right on the top of my head, I don't. It's in the website. You can get it
Okay.
on the website. Not it's on the national website. But right off the hat, I can't because everything's different. And also they changed in with the J3 where it used to be the fives and the fours. That all
Right. Now
changed
it's a
too this
different
year.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, WTN is factoring getting into those now too,
Right. Right.
and also the pro circuits. So
And do you think that we'll see more ITFs in the U.S.? I know that I'm starting to see more on the
There's
calendar,
more.
but
Yeah,
it seems like we're sort of maybe don't have as many as a lot of other countries. Obviously, we have a USTA
right.
structure that's in place that's good enough, but I'm curious if we're going to see more ITFs in the US.
This is where you need to talk to my daughter. She's the one that she's the one that handles with the works with those. But yeah, it's also how many they give us. The ITFs gives
Okay.
each country, so it's just not, like, oh, let's have 50 of them. So it's weighted by how much, sort of like how we do it with our states. You get this many level fives or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but there are more ITFs. When I played juniors, I had to go out of the country all the time to play an ITF
Yeah.
because we hardly had any. So we made it easier for our players to get points within the same thing with the pro circuits, and the challengers and the futures for the girls to not have to go outside the country to pick
Yeah.
up points. So
Yeah. Yeah.
those are good. But also, like you said, it's a whole week tournament. You're missing school. If you're in school, you're not going to make it to school.
And
So there's a lot of
there's no back
different
draw.
factors.
Yeah, no back
There's
draws.
no back draw,
So you could be playing one match.
not one match and you're gone. Yeah. So just like in the pros, that's
Yeah.
the same way with the pros. Yeah.
I
So
wouldn't have
yeah.
said
So
this 6 years ago, but I actually think that's better. I think that format you just stated, I think at a high level, it's,
one match. Yeah. Well, like,
yeah,
I take my daughter, for example, at like 15 or 16, she's already up there nationally, right? She's done everything she needed to do. Then I go, let's start throwing in the
Yeah.
ITFs because, her goal was to go play some,
The majors.
Grand Slams juniors. So, okay, well, let's start. So threw in the first one, she won it, which was it was in Texas. Then she did really well in Boca. Then she played the Easter Bowl, which got her into the French Open. That's but she had already been there. It's not she was going to get into the nationals no matter what. Now, so that's what I want to make sure that kids understand that there is a pathway, and
sure, sure.
there's the people that can skip and do it differently, that happens. Ben Shelton's the perfect example. Ben didn't play ITFs. He stayed within
Right.
the United States the whole time. So there are different pathways, but the majority, I would say, just stay in the level, make sure that you're going the route that you need to. Just because you can get into this doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing that. So, and I will say
Right.
to the parents, don't do what your neighbors are always doing. Don't do what the Joneses do. Do what's best for you and your family and your child developing. Because you can take a lot
Well,
of info from everybody and go
well,
nuts.
I was going to wrap with advice for tennis parents, but maybe you just gave us some of that. But anything else? Maybe some common questions that you get all the time that you just want to make sure everyone is aware of.
It's just make sure, I mean, I think it's very important scheduling. To me, a good coach is not only good on the court, he has to be good off the court in the scheduling. Scheduling is very important. Make sure that the schedule is the fit of the player that you're working with or the parents are working with.
And does that change? Like I say, I think some of the in the southern section, you've got Atlanta, the Carolinas, then you've also got rural Mississippi, Louisville, Kentucky, areas that aren't really tennis hotbeds. And so, we're not getting a lot of the match play that you're getting in Atlanta on a daily basis. So sometimes the tournaments that we play were for match play, which isn't ideal, but that's sort of what we had to do to get those
Oh,
numbers up. So
I
maybe,
would definitely, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I would definitely play. I mean, play tournaments for practice. I think that's great for matches. And, Southern's not the only set. Like I was in Florida, right? But I lived in Tampa area. It was Tampa, Miami, and that was it area. You went up to Jacksonville or the Panhandle, you didn't have anything. So kids have to travel no matter what, wherever you live, someone's going to have to travel, unfortunately. So just make sure when you're traveling, you're picking the correct tournaments. If it's for practice, then pick a local tournament, play up in the 18s and do, if you're 14, you might want to get practice, play up in the 18s. But if you want to do something for your ranking and you need it, you might have to travel, play your level and win it. But I always say you kind of have to show, be at the level, if you're whatever age division you're in, you need to be at the level that you think you need to be to move up. Don't move up just because you think you need to go up and you want to play tougher matches.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
and I think finding the right coach is a big thing too. Someone that's, like I said, knowledgeable on the court as well as what to do off the court, the scheduling part. And a lot of coaches, I'm not saying all of them, but some coaches do not even know changes like you all know
Yep.
about the quota. They have no
Right.
idea. And they're telling kids things that are outdated. So
old info. Yeah, I would tell you what you just said about finding a coach that can do both of those.
It's
Yeah,
rare.
good luck. I mean, that's very hard.
Yep.
I think
It's
parents
unfortunate
all over are
'cause,
searching
yeah.
for it. There's very
Yeah.
good ones, but there's not a bunch of very good ones.
right. But they also can call they can call that PD managers. I mean, that was my forte was, coaching scheduling. So I can help, we can help. We don't, I mean, we guide them or give them someone to
Sure,
guide
sure.
them, but there is resources out there, a lot of resources. And National too. National has a lot of resources. There's a great page, the national, the junior resource page on their website that has a lot of info, And I think people don't read a lot.
What's the web address for that?
It's player development. Just go to player development, USTA
Okay.
player development, and it'll pop up. And then it says USTA players resource page, and
Okay.
it's a link. It's pretty big. It has a picture.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, it's great for the players to know. It has all how to be selected into the national. It has all this information that we just talked about. And then and we have it as a link. We have it as a link. And we have a lot of information on our website too about stuff. And I think people just sometimes don't read. I'm not a good reader, I'll tell you that too. Especially on the tournament homepages. Read everything that's on the tournament homepage, people, because that's important.
Yeah. And on the flip side, tournament directors, update your tournament homepage.
Oh,
Don't use last year's
yeah, we're all
page.
that. Yeah, it's like we get crossed in the middle there.
But I also want to say I was on the committee with Maria for a long time. Great committee. She did a great job leading it. And I'll say that every decision that went through that committee was painstakingly argued and debated, right? So no changes that are made are like, let's just do this thing. And I also have told many parents, if you don't like the way that it's going, get involved. Go join the USTA state and then regional and national, and make your voice heard, because it's all about tournament directors, coaches, and parents arguing about doing what's best for the kids anyway.
Well, that's funny you said that because I started, I was a coach and then a parent. I mean, I was both TD, everything. And I got involved. I didn't like the way it was going in Florida, and I got involved and I became the chair and then I was on the national. I mean, I was a volunteer for 35 years. I did not do this job, but I was a volunteer. So that's how you make the change, get on, or email us and let us know that you're upset about something in a nice way, not in a mean way.
Put it in ChatGPT
I'm like
and let it
taking the
correct it
darts
for you.
out still. I'm still
Yeah.
taking the darts out. I mean,
So Maria,
tennis killed me.
would you say if a parent wanted to get involved, the state section or the state organization would be their first contact?
Right, for Southern, the level 7s and 6s are sanctioned by the states. So all the rules and regs are the state, the play tracker, the 10 and under, the junior circuits, all by the states too. So they should go to their state first and get all the information. They can go to us and we'll just send them over there if we can get them some information. But the one thing that has changed since I think, in the last 5, 6, 7 years has been we're a little bit more consistent together with the 9 states. Before all 9 states had 9 different ranking systems. I mean, now we're all kind of like on the same, even the states when they talk about the 7s are talking to each other about, let's try to get the rules the same. So if you go state to state, so that's been a lot that our state staff has been doing a really good job. So we're lucky I have a good state staff.
Yeah. Scott, you got anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right, Maria, thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
For coming on to the podcast, us having you. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
And I hope parents benefited from it.
Yeah, a lot of great information. And I want you to do this every year because things are always changing. But really appreciate all the information that you gave us. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions out there, but we'll do what we can to get the information out to everybody.
Thank you, and good luck to your kids.
All right, thanks.
All right, thanks.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby, and twist myself at the spine. Don't wanna overthink it, baby. It's just twist your body and mine. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight oil. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, but I don't wanna jinx it, baby. Let's not get